Dogworks Radio is sponsored by Alaska Dogworks. Check out their website at alaskadogworks.com.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by First Paw Coffee Company, specializing in private label premium blend coffee. If you're serious about coffee, you should check it out. First Paw Coffee's passion is high-quality, small-batch roasted coffee. They take the extra time to taste and get everything perfect before they release new blends. They aim to bring you a cup of happiness each time you pour yourself some coffee. Find out more at ak.dog/free and enter for a chance to win some First Paw Coffee prizes, a book from our collection, and tote bag. One winner will be selected at random each month. That's ak.dog/free.
From First Paw Media, sponsored by First Paw Coffee Company, this is the Dog Driver Show. Visit our website at dogworksradio.com. Now here are your hosts, Robert Forto and Kurosh Parto.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is Robert and I'm here with KP and we are doing the Dog Driver Show. KP, how's it going today?
Excellent. Very excited today to have someone very, very special as part of our show. This gentleman, I know him for several years actually now. I think we first met in Fairbanks during the North American Championship years ago, and we were staying in the same hotel. He is from Quebec, so he speaks French, as I do. So, of course, we get along very well. He is calling us right now from Quebec also. His name is Guy Girard. And Guy, how are you doing?
Oh, fine. What about you?
Good, good. Guy, a lot of our listeners are not familiar, with you in Quebec. Give us a little bit of background about who you are and what you do and how long you've been doing this.
Yes, exactly. I'm from Quebec, Canada, and I live close to Montreal City. I'm 66 years old, retired, married with my lovely wife, Francine, two fantastic children, and 5 wonderful grandchildren. Plus, I got in my kennel, I got 20 dogs on training that include 1 yearling, 2 retired dogs, and that's it. So we do have a really small kennel right now.
Guy, how long you been racing, sled dog racing?
Oh, I started in Northern Ontario in 1977. And like everybody else, I went to watch a dog race in January. I came back home with 3 dogs that I bought at that time from Tom Ware, who was close friend to Val McCracken, who became Val Belin later on. So I started really in Ontario. I didn't start in Quebec.
Did you start with Alaskan Huskies or did you start with Siberian like a lot of people?
No, they were mostly Alaskan Huskies. Maybe a little bit more Siberian than what we know about the Alaskan right now, but they were more Alaskan than Siberian, I would say.
And did you right away start running open class, or you ran smaller teams first?
No, at the time I was working on the construction plan, and we were traveling a lot, so I wasn't stable really. So we kept traveling. The most would be 5 or 6 dogs. And the first race was in Michigan. I was working on a power plant there. And we met people there that brought us to race. And at the time, we had 5 dogs.
And throughout the years, I know that now you have your own bloodlines, of course. Your dogs, and I look at them at Rendezvous or Onac, they look a lot the same almost. What are majority of the background behind your dogs? What is the original bloodlines that you had?
Right now, I really start back. I had to quit twice during my career because of my kids that went on school at and they were doing the certain sport at a high level. So I quit racing because I want to follow them and be with them. And then I've been sick for 2 or 3 years, so I had to quit again. And in 2009, I was racing at that time, but wasn't taking that really seriously. And we had a world championship where I met Rudy Ruperts, and that gave me the flame again, to try to be in the top field again and all that. So it really started back in 2009 with Rudy. And so I bred with Lance from Rudy Rupert's, and he gave me a lot of good advice too. And we brought in the kennel too some Igililis, and right now we do have Ollie Reynolds since 2 years. Dogs that I borrow from Steve Long, good friend of mine, and I kind of breed them together, and play with. That they are the main line that I do have in the kennel.
Very good. I saw your dog team last year at Rendezvous when you were in Alaska, and at ONAC also. Traveling to Alaska and coming all the way from Montreal to Anchorage or to Fairbanks, how do you organize such a huge trip?
Oh, it takes a lot of time. It's close to 8 days, 10 to 12 hours a day of traveling. So in 2012, it was the first time that I went to race in Alaska. And I had to ask advice from Ollie, from Aris Dunlap, the guys that traveled before over there. So that helped me a lot. But still, it's not that easy, but it's not that difficult either. I mean, we are able to bring, without, putting a trailer behind the truck, we are able to bring all the meat and the most of the dry food that we need from around 50 days of traveling. So that is not that bad, but you have to ask questions to people that already did it before. So it helps a lot. And we have people like Terry on the way that we can stop and still can train a bit, and things like that. So it's a long way, but it worth it. It's when you meet all those people on the way and the scenery and all that. The days goes by and finally you get to Tok, and then when you are in Tok, you are in Alaska.
That is true. One thing that a lot of our listeners, they may not know, when you travel such long time, Guy, do you lose a lot of energy, and do you lose, I'm talking about the dogs, and conditioning for your dogs because they've been sitting for 8 days or 6 days or 7 days in a box, traveling all the way from the East North America to the extreme West North America?
The first thing you have to drop loose. It takes your time in the morning so they can exercises and water. If you could, I think, water the dog 3 times a day, that would be the best. Because when you travel, with all the air coming in the dog box and the salt that they put on the road, and get it in the air. So you go by a big truck, and things like that. So when the air come in, and the dogs can suffer from dehydration. So I try to water them 3 times a day, and feed them a little bit in the morning, so they will relax in the dog box and have good rest. And if you can stop once on your way there, because what we do before we leave, we will try to train them the most as we can. So, and that trip, they have to enjoy it. I mean, if you lose drop and play with them a little bit, every day, you have to take your time. And then you get there, and they are not, for sure, I would compare that to if you had been, racing, like if I arrive in Anchorage, on the Monday, just like if I had finished a big race before, it's they are tired, so they have the next day that you arrive. The best thing I think is that you don't train. You let them loose, you play with them so they can enjoy themselves and all that. And the day after you can train, and they be okay for the next weekend to go and race.
Guy, I have a couple other questions about traveling with your dogs. The first question is your wife coming along, or do you bring a handler with you?
My wife came. The first trip that I made in Alaska was in 2012, and I had my brother-in-law with me. And last year, my wife came because there was a guy that was supposed to come with me, and finally, for any reason, he hasn't been able to come. So I said, my wife said, no. I said, I decided to go. This is in my plan. I'm going to go by myself. And she said, no. I'm going to go with you. I won't let you go by yourself. And she enjoyed it so much, meeting people and all that. Then finally, when we came in the spring, she said, oh, Guy, I think that I will go another time. So that's why we are supposed to go back this year. But she came last year. Yeah. So it was, I really, really enjoyed it.
So my next question, Guy, regarding the travel is a lot of folks that's been on the show already make this trip. Folks from Germany and the Streepers and all that, they all drive up. But we've never asked this question before. Where do all you guys stay when you come up? Do you stay in hotels? Do you stay in friends' homes? What is the accommodations like when you're up here for such an extended period of time?
I stay in a hotel.
In a hotel.
So yeah. I try to find a hotel when we can cook, our own meals. We go to the restaurant, but we can cook our own meal too, because we will not like to go to the restaurant, for breakfast and every day. And what's important too is have a good parking, to be able to let the dog loose and all that. But we stay in the hotel.
So what does the hotel managers think about somebody there for an extended period of time with all those dogs? Are they very accepting, and do you stay in the same place every year?
I stayed at the same place in 2012. I was staying at the American Extended Stay Hotel, and I went back last year too. And no, everything was fine.
Guy, you've raced all over the place. Michigan, Alaska, Laconia, Quebec. If you have to pick a couple races which are the most important to you, what would you say the races are?
Laconia.
Laconia. And why would it be?
It's unbelievable. Just like, we do have, on the circuit, we do have about, I will say, 5 Grand Chelem. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like in the tennis, I'm a tennis fan too, and it's like in the tennis, we do the Rondeau, Laconia, Le Parc, Cross Lake, Yellowknife. I think they are those 5 that are the biggest race, and with a lot of history too. And when you go to Laconia, you can feel it. Being on the same trail as Doc Lombard, as Dick Moulton, as so many good musher has been harmed. I think you feel it inside. It's funny to say that, but it's not easy for me to describe that. That's something that we feel inside. And when I start racing, I had people like Mrs. Nancy Moberg and all that had so much good word to me. I wasn't in the top three. I was, in last, but they had so much respect, like in Laconia, for every musher, like what I felt at the Ronde or the ONAC. If you can put a dog team on a race like that and race a race like that, people respect that and they respect you. You don't have to be number one. You can be in the last, but they still will talk to you with as much respect as they do for the first one. So, I really, really appreciate it.
No, I completely feel what you say. A few weeks ago, we had the same conversation with my kennel partner, Ken Chizik, and he actually choked up when he was talking about the North American Championship. He says it's an honor to be on the same trail as some of the best of our world, Doc Lombard, George Atla, some of the, you're right, some of those big names who are not among us anymore. And just finishing some of those races is an achievement, isn't it? I completely understand. When you're traveling or when you're home, what type of diet do you use? I just wanted to see if you use more meat, more dry dog food. How do you organize all of that?
Oh, I bring about, for 28 dogs, I would count 25 pounds of meat per day, and plus the dry food. But in my planning, I have 25 pounds per. I always travel with about 20 dogs, and I plan 25 pounds of meat per day. So it means about a bit more than, I would say, a pound and a quarter per dog of meat.
Do you maintain the same diet when you're in Alaska?
Yes, a year long.
Oh, all year long.
Never
Okay.
change my diet. Even in the summer, the same dry food and the same meat too.
Fantastic. And training-wise, I am fairly new in open class. I mean, we've been doing that the last couple of years only. But I hear a lot of different techniques preparing a dog team for Laconia, for ONAC, and Rendezvous. Some people, they say, you have to get your training maximized and be able to run 20 or 30 miles or 35 miles before any of those races. Some people, they say you have to take the dog team gradually to the distance. What do you do?
I did run quite about 15 marathon, and quite a few 22, and I've been really interested in it, and I went and followed some courses about running to jogging, and running marathons. And I try to apply the same philosophy as a planning for a marathon, a human marathon. So, and I don't think, like for a marathon, we never run on training 42 kilometers, Most will be like what we call a test. It would be about 35 kilometers. So I try as most as I can, because all depends on the weather, the trails, and a lot of consideration, and your area too, where you can train. I try to apply the same principle as I learned for running marathons.
Yeah. Guy, you mentioned you have 2 kids. I'm sure they're grown up right now because you have grandchildren. Any of your family members, any juniors interested in dog mushing with Grandpa or with Dad?
No, they are really interested in it, but they will never get involved in it, I think. No, they are staying a bit far from the house, from my place and all that, and no, I don't have anybody really that's gonna take my place. I think that is gonna replace me. I would like to, but no, the family is not involved anymore in the dog mushing, except Francine that comes with me. But they grow with it, and when I was working, I'm retired right now, but when I was working, I work a lot of hours at the job, and Francine and the kids were taking care of the kennel most of the time.
So, Guy, my next question for you is about climate change and how it's affecting you guys over on the east coast of North America. What are you guys dealing with over there? Because up here, it's very noticeable.
Oh, it's been the same here, but yeah, that is not that bad. I remember I've been dog mushing work, for over 40 years, and I remember a time, let's see, 30 years ago, that in January or February we were not able to train at all because it was raining in January or freezing rain or things like that. So yes, it has changed, but I don't think that it has changed so much. You know, I cannot see really the difference because we do, like right now, we had snow in first week of November, what we don't usually. So I haven't been able to go on the sled yet, but I have a good base of snow that I can train, with the four wheelers, and it's really soft, base for the dog's feet and all that. So it has an impact, but not as bad as people will say, I think. But it's my own my own expression, I don't, I'm not scientific or anything like that. So, but it's not that bad.
Well, you've been around a long time. Like as you mentioned, you started in 1977, so I'm sure you've seen a lot of winters come and go. And like you said, a lot of times you just have to adapt to it, whether you're doing different types of training or whatever. So my next question is our last question. It's the same question I ask all of our guests, and that is, if somebody were to ask you a piece of advice, if they're getting involved in dog sports, what would you tell them if they came up to you and asked for one piece of advice?
Oh, I think the first thing that they should do is go to different races. I mean, it could be mid-distance, it could be the 4-dog class, it could be the 6 or the open or anything like that. But they have to take their time and go to different races and then choose what they think that they will be more comfortable, in it. And then you go to help other musher. It's most of the time it's pretty easy to know the people, musher that are serious and, that they are dedicated a lot, to the sport and to the dogs, You go to races and you watch the musher, how they act, with the dogs, the care that they give, and you go by that. Sometimes it's not the top one who will do that, but sometimes you will feel more comfortable with someone that can finish in the 10th place, But and then you go there and you help them and you ask questions, and then when you have enough information, and you have to choose two type of dogs, the temper that will fit with you, because some hyper dogs you will not be able to handle it. You need dogs that are more quiet. And when you breed, that could be something that you have to be to care about. A lot of things like that. But you have to take your time. Take your time and visit people and ask questions. I have people that call me pretty often, and they ask me questions, and I'm always available for them. If I could give them some, advice that will save time to them and some worries, and money, I will do anything I can to help the people.
That's great advice, and you're one that have said, just like so many others on this show, that you're open to giving other people advice, and I think that's what's very unique about the sport of dog mushing and dog driving is just being so open with our fellow competitors. I really enjoy hearing that. KP, anything else in closing?
No, I just wanted to thank you, Guy, to be part of our show for the last 25, 30 minutes. And this gentleman is a class act champion. I really, really respect Guy. Always has a smile. When you go to him, he has always good words and good positive attitude. I respect him, and I wish you the best of training, and we'll see you on the Avenue, ONAC, or Rendezvous, one way or the other.
Absolutely. We do our best to get there. And I want to thank you guys, too, for what you do. It's really informative and a lot of information. I can't wait to listen to your next interview. So, no, I really, really enjoyed it, and you do a good job. Thanks for what you do for the sport.
Thank you very much, Guy. This is Robert on behalf of my co-host KP. This is the Dog Driver Show. Be sure to check us out over on dogworksradio.com and search for us on social media using the same name, Dogworks Radio. We'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by First Paw Coffee Company. Learn more at firstpaw.coffee.
From First Paw Media, this is the Dog Driver Show. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we invite you to subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll find a link on the episode notes. You can tap or swipe on the episode cover art, and you can see some offers from our sponsors. You can support our show by supporting them. If you like what you have heard, we would love it if you could give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe too. Your hosts are Robert Forto and Parto. Our producer is Robert Forto and created for First Paw Media.